You know to go on the walk. You know to get to the gym. All of those healthy things that you know, they never seem as important in the moment when you're stressed, when you're hungry, when you just don't care, when you're being peer pressured. Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Sweat Simple podcast. My name is Brooks Herbis, and I'm an online fitness, nutrition, and mindset coach who's here to help you simplify and make sense out of the all too confusing fitness and nutrition industry. Let's be real, there's a lot of conflicting information online, and it can be hard to know what's legit and who to trust. In every episode, I'll be sharing the science and psychology behind health, fitness, and long-lasting behavior change. But I'll also be sharing real-life practical application, because all of the best info in the world only matters if you can actually apply it to your real life. So grab a coffee, water, glass of wine, or lace up your walking shoes, and let's dive in. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to the Sweat Simple podcast. In real time, I will be down if you're listening to this in real time, I will be down at my own mastermind for my own business coach. So hopefully I will be coming back with lots of good learnings for you guys, fun things that are to come for Sweat Simple. But today I'm super excited because we are diving into a mindset topic, which is always my favorite podcast to do. I know they are not always what we want in terms of like sexy health and fitness content, but it is typically what we need, because when we think about things like consistency and reaching our goals, it's usually not that we need more info. It's not that we need more tips and tricks. It's that there's something holding us back, and it usually has to do with our mindset, which segues perfectly into the topic today, which is how to start finally following through with your health and fitness goals. Because at this point, you have read the books, you have listened to the podcast, maybe you've even listened to my podcast, you have seen every social media post, you've saved all the tips and tricks. Like, you know what to do to lose fat, you know what to do to feel better, you know what to do to move more, but for some reason you are just not doing it. And let me know if you can relate to this. Like, you start every week with the perfect plan. And I want to start out by saying that this used to be me. Before I was a coach in my early 20s, when I was on my own fat loss journey, this was me. You start every week with a perfect plan. You tell yourself, this is the week I'm going to follow through. Like, this is the week that I will not give in to that afternoon snack. Like, this is the week that I do that extra workout that I keep telling myself I'm going to do. Like, this is the week that I'm not falling prey to the stress sweet treat at night. This is the week it's all going to click. But then Wednesday comes around and it feels like Groundhog's Day all over again. You're tired, you're stressed, you're hungry. That's how I always was. I was always hungry. You lose motivation and you're back to square one. And in these moments, every Sunday at the start of the week, you keep telling yourself that you just need more willpower. You just need to want it more. You just need to grit through. But that is obviously not cutting it anymore. And you feel like you should be able to do this because you know what to do. You know to eat the vegetable. You know to go on the walk. You know to get to the gym. But there's something going on. You can't seem to get yourself to actually do these things in the moment. None of that, all of your goals, all of those healthy things that you know, they never seem as important in the moment when you're stressed, when you're hungry, when you just don't care, when you're being peer pressured. And you do know what to do. That is true. But the issue and why you're having a hard time following through is because knowledge isn't actually the issue. There is something called the intention behavior gap, and you are stuck in it. What that means is that what we intend to do, so those perfect plans, the behavior that we intend to do, those intentions only lead to about 30 to 40% variation in our actual behavior. So what that's basically saying is just because we intend to do something doesn't mean we actually will. doesn't mean that we will actually change our behavior. We're only 30 to 40% likely to change the behavior, which is why willpower and wanting it and having the information isn't cutting it. You can plan all you want for the perfect week. That plan only gives you a 30 to 40% chance of following through. Now, I'm not just going to go doomsday on you and say you will only ever follow through 30 to 40% of the time. That is not true, because the good news is that you can close the gap. You can make what you intend to do, what you actually do every single week. But having more info, having more tips, having more knowledge, that's not going to help. And neither will willpower. Because after working with hundreds of women, what I found is there are typically 4 reasons that you have a hard time following through. These are the 4 things that are keeping you stuck in this intention phase rather than crossing the bridge and being in that action phase. So we're going to walk through those, and then we're going to walk through how to actually cross the bridge. So the first thing that I typically see holding women back from following through is falling into that all or nothing thinking pattern. You start the week with a perfect plan, but the second that something doesn't go to plan, all bets are off. So what this might look like is you plan to work out during your lunch hour and you got distracted because a meeting ran 10 minutes long, and you're looking at your calendar and you're like, well, I only have 20 minutes instead of my full 30 to do the workout. So I'm just not going to do my workout at all. I'll just do it tomorrow. Same thing happens tomorrow. All of a sudden, you've done no workouts. This also might look like maybe you planned a recipe for dinner and you go to make it and you realize that you're missing an ingredient. And instead of saying, okay, how could I save this and like still eat high protein and like hit my calories, you say, okay, well, I don't have that ingredient. Okay, well, I can't do this perfectly. So you know what? I'm just going to get takeout and I'll start over tomorrow. If you're nodding along, if you're like, yeah, I can relate to both of those, you are falling into that all or nothing thinking trap. And if every single week you are constantly falling into that nothing piece when you can't be perfect, you're never going to follow through. It's going to feel really hard to learn how to pivot and be successful in those moments if you keep falling into the all or nothing thinking trap. The second thing that I see holding women back is emotional eating. So using food to soothe stress or overwhelm or to relax at the end of the night. So if you notice that you follow your plan really well until you get stressed, or until you feel bored, or until it's the end of the night and you're like, I deserve this. I just want to relax. I just want to like space out. And you immediately head to the pantry, or you feel like you need a sweet treat, or you're searching for, candy, whatever it is. If you notice that you do really well with your plan until some sort of emotion comes up, whether it's boredom, stress, even like sadness, happiness, whatever it is, you're stuck in using food to cope with these emotions, which is going to make it really hard to follow through, because your perfect plan is really hard to tap into when you are falling into that emotional side of your brain. So emotional eating is a big reason why that plan feels hard to stick with. The third one is environmental cues. So how is your kitchen setup? Who do you hang out with on a regular basis? How environmental cues usually pop up for my clients is basically a lot of times it's in situations that you feel like you can't really control. So, for example, if your plan is easy to stick to, and then you go into the break room at work and there are all of these really yummy, delicious snacks that you don't keep at home, that's a way that your environment is making it hard to follow through. All of a sudden, you're thinking about these snacks, you want the snacks, when maybe that's not even an issue at home because you don't buy those things. Or maybe you're someone who really struggles in social situations. So when you're by yourself or when you're with your partner, you have no problem sticking to your goals. But the second that you're with a big group or a certain group of friends, there tends to be a lot of peer pressure and your plan tends to go out the window. And what you intended to do in those moments doesn't actually happen, doesn't actually ring true. That is all examples of your environment, the situations that you're in, making it hard to follow through with your fat loss plans. And the last one I see is lack of planning in general and lack of belief in yourself. And when I talk about planning, we can't just think about planning for best case scenario, because that's what most of us do. We create that perfect plan for the week and we forget that life happens and a lot of times things don't go to plan. So if you are only planning for best case scenario or you are always winging it, like you are just kind of like hoping and praying that you'll magically hit your calories by the end of the day, even though you haven't planned out a single meal or you have no idea what you're planning to eat for the day, that's making it really hard to follow through. And then lastly is just that, that belief in yourself. If you don't have strong self-efficacy, which is your belief in your ability to overcome these hurdles. So if you see every roadblock as like a true roadblock and you don't have any faith that you can overcome those things, that's when it feels really, really hard to follow through, because those roadblocks will keep feeling like roadblocks. Those roadblocks will keep feeling like something that's keeping you stuck, as opposed to something that you can easily navigate. So I'd love to hear, shoot me a DM if you're listening to this, which of those four feel the most like you, feel like your biggest barrier to following through with your plan and following through on a weekly basis. Is it that all or nothing thinking? Is it emotional eating? Is it your environment? Is it lack of planning? And then bonus, is it your lack of self-efficacy, your lack of belief in yourself? Take a minute, shoot me a DM. I want to know, or if it's anything else, if you're like, Brooks, you totally missed it. This is actually what I struggle with the most. Let me know that too. So how do we go about bridging that gap? This is what I do all day long with my clients. I love it. This is my favorite part about coaching, is having you go from having the perfect plan, wanting to lose fat, wanting to do all the things, to actually doing it, actually following through, actually taking action. And I have my AIMS coaching framework. Maybe you're familiar with it. AIMS for awareness, integration, mindset, and sustain. And I built that framework because this is truly how we bridge the gap. This is how we go from wanting to do these things to actually doing these things. And I'm going to give you a very high level look at how you can start implementing this for yourself. Obviously, when we are in the coaching space, this is really individual. We are able to dig deep into what each of these building blocks across the bridge would look like for you. So I'm going to give you just a high level overview of how you can start to think about this in relation to your own health and fitness journey. So that first building block, awareness. I want you to start to notice what throws you off track. So which of those four things that I mentioned feel like your biggest hurdle? Start to notice the moments that your perfect plan goes to the wayside. That is how we're going to start behavior change. We can't change what we don't know, and we don't know what you're struggling with until you identify it. So I want you to start to bring awareness to what is throwing you off track, what is making it hard to stick to these things in the moment. That next building block, integration, these are the tools, the techniques, the behaviors that are going to help you actually follow through. So I mentioned planning. One version of this would be something called mental contrasting, which is when we're not just planning for best case scenario, but we're also planning for when things don't go to plan. So what that might look like is right now you are laying out a plan for a social event. You're saying, when I go out to eat with my friends, I want to order this. I'm going to refrain from appetizers and I'm going to have 3 drinks. We love that. That's a great plan. But when you take it one step deeper, you remember, Okay, well, I have this one friend who every time I try to stop drinking, she peer pressures me and she makes me feel like I'm not fun. And I know that that's going to come up again, and I always give in. Okay, you know that that's going to come up. How do you want to handle it when it does? Because you know that these things are probably going to happen and these things have made it hard for you to follow through in the past, how can you start planning for those things too? So, what do you want to say to your friend in that moment? Have some things in your back pocket that you can go to so that this time when it does come up, you already know how you want to handle it, as opposed to feeling like you're floundering in the moment because it's like, okay, well, I didn't plan for this. I only planned for everything to go smoothly and no one to give me, any trouble and for me to just like have all this motivation. That's not that's not how life works. I wish it was, but we do not, feel that way. Things do not go perfect. So we need to start planning for that too. So mental contrasting can be a really great tool to help you start to follow through more consistently. And that's what this integration phase is really all about. It's really about getting the tools, getting the techniques, building the behaviors that are going to make you more likely to follow through in your day-to-day life. So it's also things like if then planning, any sort of nutrition goal you have, whether you decide to track calories, build a balanced plate. It's really just the habits that we're building to make you more likely to follow through. Then your third building block is going to be mindset. And this is where we start to dive into things like your all or nothing thinking, your emotional eating. Lots of other things too, but since those are the two we already touched on, we'll touch on those for this building block. So when it comes to your own mindset piece, I'd be curious, like, do either of those ring true? Do you tend to fall into all or nothing thinking? If you do, how can you start to look at things in more of a gray area instead of those moments which when you would typically throw in the towel to have it be a nothing moment? How can it be a something moment? So if we go back to that example of you wanted to cook something for dinner, you realize you're out of an ingredient, previous version of you would throw in the towel and say, I'm getting takeout. Is there another option? Could you say, okay, well, I don't have this ingredient, but I do still have the protein, and I guess I could pair it with this rice that I keep in my pantry. So just like, is there another option besides nothing at all? That's really what we're doing in this mindset building block, is starting to shift you away from all or nothing thinking. On the emotional eating side, do you have other ways to cope with this emotion that aren't related to food or aren't related to alcohol? So just some things to start thinking about. I would say that this integration and mindset pillar, those are truly the most individual, the most unique. So I'm here to just get the wheels turning. And if you're like, I need more of that, I understand I need help with integration and I understand I'm missing the mindset piece, but I don't know where to go from here. That's really what one-on-one coaching is for. So I would apply in my bio, or not, you can apply in my bio, but in the show notes as well. And we can have a conversation about what this would look like for you, what these 4 pillars would look like for you. Lastly, we move into sustain. And this is really where you focus on the type of eater and exerciser that you want to be long term. Because once you can get really clear on that, then you can start to make decisions that are in line with that future version of you now. So in those moments when you typically don't follow through, you're able to take that pause and say, oh, okay, well, the future version of me, this type of exerciser I want to be long term, she does show up even when she can't be perfect. So, you know what? Maybe I should just go to the gym and I should just do this because this is the behavior that I'm trying to practice. So, that's why we need to get really clear about who you're trying to become, what type of eater and exerciser do you want to be long term, so that you can really start to make choices that reflect that. So all of that together, the awareness, the integration, the mindset, the sustain, that is how you're going to cross this bridge. That is how you're going to get from I want to do these things, I intend to do these things at the start of the week, but I'm never actually doing them. So if that sounds like what you need help with, I would really love to help you. You can apply for coaching in the show notes, like I said, because this is really where we're going to lock these things in for life. I want you to become someone who doesn't just plan. I want you to become someone who really follows through. And in order to do that, you don't need more tips. You don't need more willpower. You don't need like this perfect plan every single week. Again, you just need to cross the bridge. You need the deeper behavior change tactics that are going to get you to become someone to follow through. And I'd really love to hear from you, but mostly I just want you to pause and think about this. What is one thing you can implement moving forward? So out of those 4 things that make follow through really hard, which of those are you struggling with? And which of the building blocks do you think you should start with first? Is it awareness and just starting to identify why you're not following through? Is it integration and you need to do some more mental contrasting? Is it mindset and you want to start to focus on doing something as opposed to nothing? Is it sustain and you want to get really clear about the future eater and exerciser that you're trying to be? This is your bit of action. I want you taking action right here. Whether or not you're applying for coaching, I want you to take action out. What is one thing that you can take and start to do? Whether it's mental contrasting, building that awareness, doing something, thinking about future you, pick one thing. And better yet, shoot me a DM when you know what you're going to do, because that's how you're going to put some money in the game and hold yourself accountable for it. So like I said, I would love to work with you all one-on-one on really diving into this. If that's something you're interested in, you can apply for coaching in the show notes. But either way, thank you guys so much for listening today. I promise that all of you are very capable of becoming someone who follows through. I know it in my gut, and I want you to believe that about yourself too. So thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget, I pick one person every single month to win a free personalized fat loss blueprint with me. So you're getting a personalized nutrition plan, personalized training program, and all you have to do is leave a review or add this episode to your stories. So thank you guys so much, and I will chat with you all next week.